How's it going, guys? This is my Thinkpad T430. This video is made for someone who might be interested in buying one of these or already has one and might want to upgrade it, maybe a little bit more. Or if you want to just watch it to learn how to disassemble it, do a basic disassembly, get access to most of the parts you're going to need for the laptop. The reason the T430 is so beloved is because it is the last generation of ThinkPads that you can put one of these 7-row keyboards inside of it. The standard keyboard looks like this, and it is still a great keyboard, but I think if you're okay with that old keyboard, you might as well just get a newer laptop. The main reason to have one of these is this awesome keyboard. The 7-row keyboard. So when doing any kind of work on your laptop, the first thing you want to do is remove your battery. So that's going to be this switch right here. It pops right out. You want to take off these 2 screws right here to remove this front door. And these doors are not the best. You kind of got to peel on it a little bit and pick it up. Screws don't come out, they're in there, so that's good. You might need to upgrade your CMOS battery if you're just getting this for the first time, but the very first upgrade you want to really make is the RAM. You can put 16 gigabytes of RAM in here. RAM just pops open with these 2 little prongs, these metal pieces right here. You just open it. You can get, let's see here. It's 2 8-gigabyte sticks, so 16 total, of DDR3L, which is a little bit less power sipping than the regular DDR3. And you use 1866, I forget the whatever it is, but I bought this from Amazon. It was not expensive at all, and I went with the blue color because I like blue. Alright, so next thing we want to do is take out the screws here and here. This is what goes into our keyboard in the front. Oh, another thing to do as well, hold down the power button for just like 5-10 seconds just to drain all the rest of the power that might be circulating through here. Alright, so I forgot to mention that this is using a PH1 screwdriver. I recommend you just go ahead and buy a full actual kit here for doing this kind of work. This is an iFixit kit from Best Buy. It was about $25, so nothing too crazy. But it has all the tools you might need, and that's some very specific things, including this like really heavy duty kind of pick, as well as these kind of softer picks and any kind of screwdriving bit you might need, and some whatever these are called. Tweezers. So yeah, we're using a PH1 bit right now, and we're gonna go ahead and use this pick. And if you're doing this for the first time on the regular keyboard, it's gonna be a lot harder. You have these prongs right here to kind of pick out, and they'll be, they'll just be more secure in there, so you'll have to really get at it. But mine's been loosened up. I've done this a bunch of times, so it's ready to come out. Alright, so keyboard just pops out right there. There's a little thing that you unhook. So it's best to pull straight down so you don't accidentally overextend this or rip it out too violently. Then we have much more access, or at least visibility, to the inside. This is where your second piece of RAM lies. So you'll do the same thing that you did on the other side. Just pop that open and pop the new stick of RAM in. And that's one of the most critical things you can do for this laptop is get up to 16 gigabytes of RAM. It just will run everything a lot better. So among other things to buy with this is maybe a little filing set. This is one from Harbor Freight. It was really cheap, I think under $10. And this gives you these little mini files, and that will help you modify the older T420 or previous keyboards into this laptop. And there's they say you can put this plastic piece all around here over the top of it and it'll run just fine, but I really prefer filing it down and giving it that nice fit inside of the plastics in here. It will create like these shiny pieces as you're filing it down, and even when I got my keyboard, it was kind of bent up and I had to bend it a little bit to make sure the escape and the arrow keys were working okay. Yeah, I really recommend filing down the tabs instead of hiding it underneath this plastic, just so you can get that nice fitment and you can just pop it out. And even if you prefer, you don't have to screw back in these two screws back here. You can just hook the keyboard right back up, and if you have a good fitment, you can just pop it back in there, squeeze it down, and it'll be secure enough. You can kind of pop that open whenever you need. Like if you're running an extra keyboard, you can actually pop this off and just leave this open for extra cooling. But anyways, don't want to get on too much of a tangent. This thing will just plug and play right into there. The fitment is the same. There's also information talking about opening this up and doing some kind of modification, putting tape over one of the tabs. I did not do that. I just said screw it and plugged it in, and everything has worked just fine. The volume keys work great. Everything's fine with it. It is still in the platform of this, so everything still functions as this would. I haven't gotten around to actually making this keyboard functional. I'm kind of not sure on what to do. I got this one with all these Japanese symbols on it, and I'm not really sure on how to make that functional, or even if it can be. So anyways, that's for the keyboard. Just file it down and shape it. Do it slowly until it has a good fit. And you always want to be putting that front bit in first on the keyboard, and then pushing that bottom bit down on the end. Same goes for getting this cover off. So let's move on to that. There's going to be two little screws right here and here. I have completely ditched these screws. They're just in the way and make the process kind of more annoying. Like, this doesn't need to be in there like that. So these screws can be ditched once you get them out, and then we flip the keyboard or the laptop back over to the other side. So let's get this screw out here, right here. This is where our hard drive lives. You want to swap that out for an SSD as well. If you're upgrading this, it'll help you out a lot with your speeds. This thing's kind of annoying sometimes. There we go. Fits in at a funny angle. So anyway, that is where our SSD is, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So after that one is open, then it is just this screw here. Hold on. It's just this screw here, this one here, this one here, 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 and this one here. Don't forget about this one right there in the middle. These top ones on the corners, I think, are tied to something else, so don't need to worry about those. So let's go ahead and get those out of there. And sometimes these the magnets on my drill bits don't work great. So you might have to turn the laptop upside down and just bang on it. Don't worry, these things are extremely durable and they can definitely handle it. I've had my friend's son drop this off of my lawnmower because I was doing some work and I just wanted some YouTube how-tos up on my laptop to watch while I was doing that work on the outside. And yeah, it's totally fell right off the lawnmower and hit the ground and rolled all over the place, and it was totally fine. Didn't stop playing the YouTube video or anything. These things are absolute tanks compared to modern day laptops. They obviously have their limit, but they're awesome either way. All right, so that one's good. All right, keyboard screws are out. We can flip this on over. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our little blue pick here. This is a softer one. If you don't have one of these, you can use a debit card. You can use a guitar pick if you have one of those. But I'd highly recommend getting the kit again, because if this is your first time, one of these is going to help you out a lot more than this one will. It's going to give you a lot more structure, and with how these are built, it's going to feel like you're breaking it a little bit. And you kind of are in a way. So you'll make sure you do that as safely as possible. It goes for the keyboard as well, just kind of wiggle and pry your way into a comfortable area and just keep working at it. So we're going to do the same thing opening this guy up. I like to start on this side by the express card slot right here. And I like to leave everything in. You can take off the CD drive really easily, but I like to leave it all in. Same thing with the hard drive, just to give you that added structure to this while you're kind of pressing down on everything instead of leaving it hollow in the middle. So, like I said, if it's your first time, this is going to help you out a lot. If you've done this a few times to the laptop, then it knows what you're doing. It's going to be a little bit more willing to work with you. All right. So the real annoying areas are going to be on the undersides right here. Just running this along the bottom. Just kind of pry it up. Once you get it going, you can kind of work your way through. Much better. Come on, there's a point right in here. There it is. All right, and be careful opening this. Don't get too crazy. There's a little connection right under here that we got to get out. So be very careful throughout this whole process, obviously. There. Nice and easy, and it'll still be hinged in on the top here. So we're gonna open this up just a little bit. Make sure you can see in here. You can see that connection right here. It's on a little block, and I'm just gonna wiggle fingers into it, and it shouldn't be in there too hard, so it should be easy to just kind of pop out. And there it is. And then just like the keyboard, the front goes in first, so it's kind of just sitting in there. And if you missed the screw on that part right there, you'll know it right about there when you try and give that a tug. But other than that, your cover should come off, and you basically have access to everything you need on the laptop. So your CD drive sits right in here. Your SSD sits right in here. Let's go ahead and get that SSD out of there. I had to buy a little caddy for mine. Got mine on Amazon. So it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it fits in there solid. So yeah, your SSD will just be this little like tray. Have these little end caps on it. And just pop those in. And a little pull tab that I like to tuck away in there. So that's an easy upgrade to do. Shouldn't be too expensive as long as you don't get a large size. But even then, it's still not that expensive compared to prices of other laptops. All right, like I said, it's not the greatest. Maybe I put it in backwards. That could be it. No? You know what? Whatever. We won't worry about it right now. This thing is, like I said, it was cheap on Amazon, and it's not, doesn't like to go in and out, but it's nice because when it's in there, you know it's in there because it's the only other way it'll fit. So we'll leave that out for right now. All right, might as well take the CD tray out while we're at it. Just this little unlock, push that over, comes right out. I believe you can upgrade these to a Blu-ray drive if you want. I'm not positive on that, but you can absolutely swap this out for an extra storage space, another SSD on your laptop, which is what most people do. But I don't know, I like to watch DVDs, and it's kind of cool to have a laptop that can still do that. Most laptops cannot, so I'm keeping it in there for now. All right. What else we got here? So I talked about the RAM hiding under here. Just be careful about the cables. They should be in a good spot already, but you don't want to nudge them too hard. Let's take off this little speaker here. So it's going to be, just watch where the cable goes right here. It kind of worms through our way here. So just be cognitive of that. It's just this one screw right here. And then kind of lifts off this little thing here, and it has a little insert right there. I just pull it up and over, just gently out. You can just set that right there. You don't need to do anything too crazy with that. Don't want to mess with, I don't know, it's not too complicated, but don't want to do more than you have to, right? So right here we have our fan, and underneath this part right here is our CPU. So I have upgraded my fan from this fan here. This is the stock fan that my T430 came with. It just sat right in here. So this is a Toshiba fan, and this is a Delta fan. And this has one of these little tubes, and this one has two. This one is meant for just a regular one like mine. This one is meant for one with a dedicated GPU, which would normally sit right in here. You can absolutely swap these out with each other with a little bit of modification. And I highly recommend that you do. So the Delta fan, its RPMs are not as high, so people thought that it doesn't cool as efficiently, or it doesn't cool as good as it could compared to the Toshiba, but these are much quieter. Much quieter, honestly. And there's been some debate on whether these are actually better or not than these, because although these might be spinning faster, these are doing a better job. I'm not sure on the science of it. What I do know is these are quieter, and I'd much rather have a quieter fan. Another thing that I've done to this fan is I have wrapped it with copper tape. It is something that I saw on some forums and just saw off of pictures, but this is what copper tape is. I've never heard of it before. It's this very thin film on the on this big plastic part, and basically what I've done is wrapped it around this part here for extra cooling. I will do whatever it takes to have a quieter fan. I absolutely love a laptop that is quiet, although this thing does get hot still. Anyway, to remove the fan, what we need to do is take out this plug right here. So this is a good job for the tweezers, and maybe even a backup little pencil-like thing. So you don't want to be tugging on these wires too much. Get in there and lift up that fan. Fan cable. Ooh. Really hard to do without getting in the way. Sorry. We got it. There it goes. All right. So the cable is off. If you're coming from this one right here, it's going to be a little bit easier to do than the bigger one. These got a little bit more space, a little bit less wiggle room. So next thing you want to do, take your screwdriver again, and you'll notice there'll be numbers next to each screw, and that is the order you want to take them out or put them in at. So we're going to start at number 4 up here. Loosen that one up a little bit. Then go on to number 3 over here. Loosen that one up a bit. Number 2. Number 1. And these are spring-loaded screws, so I'm putting a little pressure down on here just so they don't pop out, too aggressively. So and we'll finish it off. 4 all the way. You'll hear those little clicks once you're done. We'll do the same thing when you tighten. All right. So the fan is ready to come on out. Make sure I have a good spot to put this. Be right back. Alright, so don't want to get thermal paste everywhere, but you can basically just pick these up and pull them out. Fitment on mine is quite tight. So there we have our fan. Thermal paste all there, and there's our CPU. So I'll talk about this in a little bit. Let me talk about CPU here. So the CPU and the fan is kind of like your the meat and potatoes of your build on your T430, or really any of these ThinkPads. It's kind of gonna determine what you want to go for. Do you want a lighter CPU and a good Delta fan like mine, and just have it be really quiet, really efficient, run some YouTube really good, you know, do basic tasks? Or do you want something with a little bit more power that can handle some heavier gaming along with running, you know, YouTube on the side and whatever? You know, like if you want a little bit more power, you can go that route. And if you want to push it to the absolute extreme, you know, there's a way to do that as well. I went for a good in-between. So for the CPU, I have the i7 3632. 3632QM. But there's a bunch of options, and you can kind of determine which direction you want to go with it. I will link a website in the description. It is kind of a long-standing definitive guide, and that will go over the CPUs that you can choose from in a more detailed way. I like this one. It is a quad-core CPU, and it does everything that I need it to do a little bit, I don't know, a little bit better than my previous stock i5 did. I don't know, what I use the laptop for doesn't necessarily need it, but I like to have it, especially when I'm trying to game. It's nice to have that extra bit going to it. So if you want to take this CPU out, all you need to do is turn this screw right here. It's a regular flathead screw to unlock it, and then it will lift out. I have my old CPU right here. This is the i5. So these are called socketed CPUs. So maybe you can see those are all tiny little teeth all over this. Another thing too, when you take this out, let's see, if I can line this up. There's a little triangle arrow looking gold thing on the top. That lines up down at the bottom right corner down here. You want to make sure when you're swapping these in and out that those are the same corners there. You're plopping it in that way. So yeah, this is a socketed CPU, and you could just kind of, any one that can fit, you can swap on in here. So you can really customize your experience, and for the most part, no matter what kind of CPU you have, I recommend you buy the Delta fan with the dedicated GPU. And it's also recommended that you don't have the dedicated GPU, so you can hook up an external GPU easier, or just to maintain cooling a lot better, which these laptops do get hot. But the great thing is it gets hot around the vents where it's pushing everything away, so you know it's doing its job. It's not getting hot all in the keyboard or in the actual lap part, but around this back corner here it gets spicy back there for sure. So I recommend you buy one of these and attempt the copper tape mod like I did. For $10 extra, I got some copper tape. I wanted to try it out, and I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know the exact specs on how much better it's cooling, but I think it looks pretty badass, and I'll do whatever it takes to get a few, even if it's 1 or 2 degrees Celsius less cooler, you know, more cool. I will take that, and I would consider it worth it, because that is one step quieter to having a quieter fan and a quieter laptop. So basically just layer it on over, connect the 2 pipes, and try and make it a little hollow tube, I guess. I kind of did a light layer and pushed it into place, and then did a heavier layer once I kind of molded it to how I wanted it to. Another thing that I had to do with the files here was when I was putting in this newer fan, because of the extra tube on the side here, I had issues fitting it past. This little screw here, so I had to get underneath it and file it at an angle. So you can see that. I like file it at an angle like that. Basically doing that over and over again until I could fit the fan in there. So you might need to modify. That's the frame. It's totally fine, safe. Don't try not get the top of it, because that's what your speaker kind of connects to. But the bottom of it is totally fine. Just file it enough until you can slide it in there, just like the keyboard. Just kind of got to make it work and find the proper fitment. So let's put. We're fine. We're good. Also, if you're doing the copper tape mod, try and keep the layer on the underside of the GPU spot real thin. I did do like 1 or 2 layers, but it's really thin. You don't want that connecting to anything on the other side here. So this thing has a very specific fitment here. Just kind of, there we go. And plug it back in. Boom. And remember the order. So make sure we're lined up here. One. 2, 3, 4. It's just like doing the lug nuts on your car, you know, try and just do a diamond pattern, and that's a good general philosophy for tightening and untightening a lot of things. But I guess for Lenovo, they deemed it super necessary on this, and I'm glad they did. So those should all be in there. Awesome. All right, let's get our speaker back in place. Fit it in that little socket right there. Boom, and then hook it on right on top of that little screw right there. All right. Really quick before we see all this up, another thing about the CPU is there's a big difference between the 45-watt CPU and the the 35-watt CPU and the 45-watt CPU have a major power draw difference, and the CPU I went with stays within the 35-watt CPU range. But if you want to go more powerful into the 45-watt CPU, what you're going to do is buy a charger for a W530, and that is going to have teeth on the inside of the laptop that you're going to need to file, or on the inside of the charger that you're going to need to file down in here to make it fit, and that's going to probably be the only thing to power a 45-watt CPU. I did it anyway because it can charge your battery faster, so it's totally compatible with any CPU. It fits totally fine into the charging port once you file down the 2 teeth that are there. And it's a pain in the ass. It takes forever, and you feel like you're gonna break the inside, and such a small opening, and yeah, it was a painful process, and my arms hurt afterwards, but happy it's done, and now I have a charger that charges my laptop faster, and I'll take that. All right, so let's do first thing. I'm gonna put this back on. Actually, let's get our CD drive back in there. A little extra rigidity. All right, so let's get this back in there. I'm gonna do that front part first. Cool, and then we'll go connect our button down in here. Then we can kind of just push it back together. Let's get that hard drive back in there. Oh, there it goes. Nice. I don't know why it's so much easier now. All right. Hard drive cover back on. So these things have kind of, you get them in at an angle. Come on, dude. You're embarrassing me in front of all my friends. Alright, I said it's tricky. It's never been this tricky. Oh, is my hard drive not in there, right? Let's see, maybe it does go the other way. It does. I'm such an idiot. And that's why it's trickier to get in. Oh, works when it's going the wrong way. There we go. There we go. All right. Our own business. So let's get this little baby screw back. Get that back home first. Oh, just lightly. Alright, back to the front side again. So getting these keyboards back in can be a pain with this cable, especially if it's a fresh keyboard. It's not really bent to how your laptop should be. So my strategy is to take this back part, get up here, find your connection piece, and just kind of aim for it the best you can while keeping this close without extending the cable too far. Just kind of aim it right onto piece and try and push it down with one finger. Then this should just get right in there and boom. Press right in. Not my best work. Let's try that again. There we go. Easy. Press right in. Cool. So now on the underside, you put your screws back in here if you want. I like to run it without it sometimes, just so I can pop it open whenever. I think it's kind of cool that I can just kind of open it willy-nilly and show off the insides. You know, and if something's kind of weird's going on, I can just open it up without needing a screwdriver, check it out. It's kind of like opening the hood of a car. It's really, I don't know, it's flexing your stuff. You know, I was thinking about maybe doing some stickers up here or something, or maybe drawing something with markers. I don't know. I don't want to affect the, I'm sure this has some kind of temperature resisting effects. I don't want to affect that at all. But I'd like to do some kind of artwork on the inside here, something to show it off a little bit more. And on that note, this thing is kind of like a riced out Honda Civic. You know, it's got the same kind of concept behind it. It's durable, long lasting, and lots of parts for it, lots of information for it. You can find out everything you need to find out about it. You know, it's not obscure whatsoever. It's why I think this is probably one of the best ThinkPads ever made, specifically for that. It's got this older keyboard. It has so much upgradability to it. Has a great build to it, even if you're not into thick pads like I am. It still feels really nice without being too thick. Battery just slides in. This is a 9-cell battery that I bought off eBay. It is still Lenovo brand. You have to be careful when you're buying these off eBay. You check the wording on it and check the reviews. Do that for everything you're buying. Lots of these parts are going to have to come off eBay. So check the reviews for everything, especially the batteries. Make sure this is a legit Lenovo battery. Otherwise, you have to modify the BIOS to allow third-party batteries, which is totally doable, but I'll get into that another time. I'm not really sure what I'm doing there. So just this back door. All right. And we are good. Another thing that I didn't mention that's awesome about the T430 that is lost in other generations is the Think light, the light that comes down from right up here and lights up the keyboard instead of a backlit keyboard. I think that thing is awesome. It's been super helpful actually when I've been in a dark room. It will light it up and yeah. So I'm running Pop! OS Cosmic right now. Still pretty fresh, but runs great, you know. Can handle everything. Runs super cool. at idle, it's between like 32 to 42 degrees Celsius, and fans aren't kicking at all. Can usually run a YouTube video with very minimal noise, if none at all. Laptop's awesome. Been using it as my daily driver for quite some time now. My main computer does all my major gaming, but this is where I do most of my web surfing, most of my shopping. I love it. It's got decent battery life. And if you're starting to become aware of your internet privacy or done with Windows and want to start learning Linux, this is a great laptop to do it with. And I don't know, it's made me want to use a laptop as a laptop again instead of just a desktop that I might want to take to a friend's house. You know, this is actually something I bring with me into the kitchen and play videos off of that, or yeah, it's kind of taken over my phone, and I really like that. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching my video on the T430. It is a great purchase. If you are even mildly interested, I say you go for it. It's totally turned me into a complete tech nerd. Anyway, guys, have a good day.